Hey, Millionaire University listeners, as entrepreneurs, we're all about generating income, but what about managing that wealth once we've created it? That's why I'm thrilled to share my latest podcast discovery, the Money Girl podcast. Hosted by Laura Adams, a seasoned entrepreneur and financial expert, Money Girl has been helping listeners master their finances for over 15 years. Whether you're navigating complex business finances or planning for personal wealth, Laura's got you covered. I'm stoked that Money Girl aligns perfectly with our mission here at Millionaire University. We're not just about making money, we're about creating a wealthy lifestyle, and Laura's bite-sized episodes, always under 20 minutes, fit perfectly into our busy entrepreneurial schedules, especially if you have kids. From recessions to pandemics, Laura's seen it all, and she believes anyone can fix their financial problems, no matter how dire. Plus, she often answers listener questions so you can get personalized advice for your specific financial challenges. You can listen to Money Girl wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes come out Wednesdays and Fridays. It's time to stop worrying about money and start ruling your finances. Hey, Millionaire University listeners, are you sitting on a nest egg of at least $30,000 and dreaming of breaking into real estate investing? Flip Cheap Houses is revolutionizing the game, and they're looking for partners just like you. Real estate investing can sound risky and time-consuming, but that's where Flip Cheap Houses turns the tables. They've got the finances covered, the properties lined up, and even the contractors on speed dial. All they need is your eyes. In 2023 alone, they negotiated over 2,500 flips, but they never invest sight unseen, and that's where you come in. As their local partner, you'll learn the ins and outs of real estate investing from the pros. We're talking negotiation skills, market analysis, and the secret sauce to becoming a real estate mogul. You're not just learning, though, you're also earning. We're talking 50 to 75% of the net profit on all your flips. So here's what you need to do. Go to flip2024.com for free information. That's FLIP2024.com for free info. Don't let this opportunity slip through your fingers. Your future in real estate starts now.
Who wants a money machine? On October 1st, 2024, we will be launching the first ever Millionaire University program, teaching you how to build your own seven-figure business.
We don't think of a business as a business per se. We think of it more like a money machine, where every dollar you put in, you get $2, $3, $4 back.
Most successful business owners can identify thousands of business opportunities and execute on any one of them to create a seven-figure business within 3 to 5 years, time and time again.
Truth is, they don't have anything you don't. Trust us, we know. So if they can do it, why not you?
The purpose of the Build My Money Machine program is to empower you to be able to do the same thing. So take advantage of the Millionaire University Founders Special and go to buildmymoneymachine.com now to sign up and get 90% off the regular price. Once again, that's buildmymoneymachine.com. And we'll see you October 1st.
I'm sitting there with this guy, and in my mind, I'm like, I don't care, but dude, you hire me, your business is going to be in a different place in a year. Like, you're going to be able to drop your ad spend. You're going to get more calls.
Welcome to the Millionaire University podcast. I'm your host, Brien Gearin, back in the saddle with you today. And on this edition of the MU Pod, I'm joined by Buddy Rathmell, owner of Map Winners. It's a digital marketing agency that focuses solely on managing Google business profiles. And guys, I am super pumped to nerd out today because, like Buddy, this is one of the featured offerings at my company. And I'm always finding myself yelling from the mountaintops to small local business owners the importance of this marketing channel. So, Buddy, my friend, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Brien. Thanks for having me on. I'm the same. Like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, you need to see this. I feel like, I don't know, maybe like I always think history and like people that were like, get out of Europe, like World War II is coming, you know? I'm like, for people that can see the importance of Google business profiles and jump into it, it's just so huge for their businesses.
Yeah. It's massive. It's massive. Well, so today we want to talk about everything about your business. We want to get a little bit of your origin story, how you got into it. And as we started there, we want to educate our audience today on the importance of the Google business profile. I think it's something like 60% of small businesses haven't used their profile in the last year. And like 40% of them don't touch it at all. And in my experience, I'm sure you can concur, Buddy, nearly every business I encounter does not focus on this as a lead generator. So before we nerd out, tell us a little bit about Buddy. How did you get into this business? When did you start and how's it going?
Yeah. So I got into like tech right out of college. I worked for a Fortune 250 in the IT world. started buying domains and making websites like back in the HTML days, like 98, 99. And then around 2003, I made my first money from like Google Ads, affiliate marketing stuff. And I don't remember the journey, but I do remember throwing down $5,000 for SEO certification in 2010 and doing some lead gen sites, a lot of like marketing consulting that I did over the years for people and my own businesses. And then in 2009, I helped a guy. Like I just said, I was doing marketing stuff and like giving him SEO feedback on his website. And I just said, hey, if you want to add another $300, I'll optimize your Google Business Profile. And so I just spent 3 hours doing like Google Business Profile stuff. And like, I did not hear anything from him, knew his business was growing. A year later, he comes to my house. We're doing a pitch deck. He's like, I need a pitch deck. I don't know what that is. Like, he's a solar installation electrician guy. And this big company was moving in the area. And they said, hey, would you create a pitch deck and come show us your services? And he's like, I don't even know what that is. So we created his pitch deck. And as he's leaving, he says, yeah, my wife and I got in a huge fight. And I was like, oh, really? Tell me about it. We walked out of my office and we have like a bar. And so we just were grabbing a beer and he starts talking and he says, yeah, my wife hasn't been responding to Facebook for 3 months. This German guy was writing all over how we're a fake company, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, I thought you were getting all your business from Facebook. And he goes, oh, I never told you? Yeah, ever since you did that Google stuff, I don't even need Facebook anymore. I quit paying for ads. And I had known in that year, he went from 5 employees to 20. And he told me in that conversation, he had gone from 350,000 to 950,000 in a year, all because of his Google Business Profile.
Wow.
And a little bit of like, he had optimized his site a little bit, but basically it was Google. And I was just like, I mean, my head just started spinning. I was like, no way. And when he walked out of the house, I just was like, this is what I need. This is my calling in life. But so at the time I found a guy, I was like, who's really good at this stuff? I found this guy, Craig Darling in Arizona. So all he does is Google Business Profiles, and paid him to like show me his secret sauce, his IP. But at the time, like when I started talking to Craig, it was 2020 COVID. And he said, yeah, I just went from 140 clients down to 40. And I was like, well, crap, this is not the business to be in. I actually had gotten another client. I went to another friend as soon as I found out this guy. I'm like, give me $3,500. Trust me, it'll be worth it. And like, I did his Google business stuff. But then I'm like, well, crap, I don't want to build a business around a dying thing. So I ended up talking to Craig like 2 years later, and he got most of those clients back, a couple hundred more. And I was like, crap, I should have jumped on it then. So this was 23. I'd had a few clients, like I just would keep some clients. But in May of 23, I just decided to go all in on Google Business, drop everything else, quit doing marketing consulting, websites, blah, blah, blah. So now I'm just doing Google Business Profiles.
Wow. Okay, very cool. So your management of that guy's profile led from a jump to just under $1 million in 1 year in terms of revenue, the majority of it coming from the managed profile.
Yeah. And then in the next 3 years, he went to 1.7 million.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And really almost no other lead gen. Now, last fall, he did reach out and I gave him my new price and he was like, what? That's too much. And I'm like, if there is one person on the whole freaking planet that should know the power of this, it's you. Like, he was like a struggling entrepreneur for probably 15 years, like different niches, organic farming. I mean, he's tried all kinds of crap, electrician.
And ended up in solar?
Ended up in solar because he was an electrician and it was like a growing niche. But now he has like 2 warehouses. He built a skate park in one for his kids. His kids have motorcycles, taking his family like of 6 kids on vacations.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I've been so busy. But what happened is other people have come into the market, right? So he used to just own it. And now people are getting like wise to Google stuff. And we haven't done anything for him in 5 years. Mm-hmm. So he needs it optimized again. But I'm like, seriously, dude, like your life was changed by a Google business profile, but he only paid $300. So now he's like, why should I pay 10 grand? The last time it was only $300.
Right. Was it, so you optimized it one time and then he took it from there?
He didn't do anything. Like, it just was like, it was solar installation. And in his city, no one else was like doing anything, like optimizing at all.
Right.
I didn't even run a heat map on him back then. I don't think I have since, but like, he just got the phone calls.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he got the calls, and he's a hard worker. He answers the phone. He does good work. He follows, like, he does all the good business things.
Mm-hmm.
He just wasn't good at marketing.
Wow. Okay. Well, so you mentioned heat maps. Let's start diving into a little bit of the nitty gritty on the Google business profile. And it sounds like for this guy, in this case, you kind of had the first mover advantage. In his area, it didn't sound like there was much competition on maps or on Google business profile. And you optimized it. You did kind of the core technical things that need to be done, but there's a lot of monthly upkeep, weekly upkeep that needs to happen on these profiles nowadays. But in an area where he had first mover, it sounds like he didn't even need to do much ongoing to manage it. A little bit different these days. So let's talk about, for those who are unfamiliar, what is the Google business profile?
Yeah. So that's the Google listing. You know, if you search roofers near me, those first listings that are on the map, and a lot of times it'll say see more or whatever, but you see the map pop up, you see those profiles that show up organically on the left. And when you click on that, they call it the Google Knowledge Panel, like all the things that will show up about a business. And typically, if a business isn't optimizing their profile, it'll just be like their business name, their location, their phone number, and their reviews. And then you're missing out on a lot if you don't have products, if you don't have services, if you haven't optimized your profile the way it should be done. If you're not, almost nobody knows you can go and throw in another 300 characters on services to fill those out, and those with a call to action. Obviously, the regular posting is huge, which you can do on the Google business profile. There's updates, events, special offers, and just fill that whole thing out. So you basically have more things for people to scroll, more things to grab eyeballs, more things for them to click on. And probably the most important thing, you're giving Google more information to cause you to show up when people are searching on the map.
Yep. And I was just about to say that before we kind of talk about all the different things that you can do on this profile, some of them, a regular customer or prospect might not even see it. Like if you have a long list of services that you offer, they might not ever see that service page, but it doesn't matter because Google's crawling it, and Google needs to see that you offer that. And that person might have searched something similar to that term, and now you're more likely to rank. So that's why there's so many different areas. When we say optimize a profile, I feel like it's easy to overuse the word optimize in the SEO world in general these days, but it is true where there's so many of these things that have to be optimized and have to be done well and be keyword rich, not overloaded, but rich. And a business owner is not going to know that. They just aren't. Like, unless that business owner happens to be a professional marketer who's familiar with Google profiles, it's not going to happen. But like you said, it's the most important thing is Google can see that so that they can show you. So let's run through all the different things, or most of the different things that we can think of off the top of our head, because there's a lot that goes into a Google business profile. What's the most important? And let's kind of rank it down from there.
Yeah. So obviously, like when you're editing your own profile, like that first box that says, edit profile or whatever, the first thing is to make sure that you have the right top category and that you also have any other categories that fit your business. So I just picked up a lighting contractor. When we looked at his profile, he was listed as, I don't remember what it was. Oh, it was a landscaper. So yes, there's a category. There's not even a category, but there's a thing of like landscape lighting. That would be a keyword he would want to show up for. But he did not want to be a landscaper. Like that doesn't make any sense for his business. The second would be, I see this mistake actually fairly frequently, the area that the business is serving. So like that same guy, he only had one county as the area that he wanted to serve. And it wasn't even like his main area. So as soon as we switched his area, we just did a few things. I mean, like, he called me 3 weeks after we started, and he went from something like 1% of the share of local volume search to 18%. And his area is huge. So just that is going to make a huge difference, like in the calls that he's getting. So like looking down through there, I tell people like extend your hours to as much as you're willing to answer the phone. So like if you're willing to answer the phone from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., put that as your business hours. You know, if you have a calling service and you're answering 24/7, put that on your hours in there. There's things in there like services. Are you woman owned? That kind of stuff. Minority owners. There's a lot of different things that you can fill in down there. I don't ever start with services. Like I don't add any myself, but what we do very quickly, like I just had a renewal of an HVAC client. Google has probably discovered 100 services for him over the course of the year. But then what we do is we go back and we fill out the description. Now, I used to add services for people from the start, but then I thought, well, it's probably better in my mind. I'm like, it's probably better if Google discovers them just from the work we do. So I don't add those on the front end. I know some people do, but we find Google discovers those things really quickly with our methods. So I don't put those in there myself.
Yeah. So the service area, and this listing has your basic stuff like your hours, your location. The service area is maybe more of a secondary thing, but it's incredibly important to have that be accurate. But then also, and we probably shouldn't gloss over this, but Google profiles are kind of like the Bible for your 5-star reviews. I think that's the highest weighted item is getting those consistent 5-star reviews. If you can get one a week, that's ideal. But also replying to these reviews. So reviews and then like photos, and kind of teach us about the importance, or if there, in your mind, if there is an importance level based on the different things that you can do here.
Yeah, if you can get customers to also leave a photo with the review, that's great. I tell like, do whatever you can when you're getting started to get reviews. So depending on the business, like if you're a roofer and you're at a backyard party and someone goes, oh, you're a roofer, like I need a new roof, like we have this leak and we have this, and you spend 5 minutes talking to them or 10 minutes. At the end of that, I would say, hey, we're just kind of getting started in our business. Would you be willing to leave a review just for that even if you don't ever hire me? You know, just what I told you in the last 10 minutes, would you be willing to leave a review for me? And one of the things we do for our clients is like, we create a QR code with their logo that goes right to their Google Business review page so that it pops right up. And all they have to do is say, Brien was great, super helpful, highly recommend, send. And it's like, once you get 50 reviews, it doesn't matter what 40 of them say. Like 10 of them are going to say the things that people want to read or whatever, you know. But do whatever you can. I've seen pressure washers say, hey, offer to do somebody's driveway or sidewalk for free just to get a review as you're getting started. So whatever you can do to get a review, yeah, that's huge. The number one thing to get a review, do you know what it is, Brien?
Hit me with it.
Ask.
Yep.
Like, just ask
just
people.
Do it.
Yeah. Like, there was a tree guy that we were talking about doing his work a year ago or so. And I was like, dude, how did you get 75 reviews in a year? Like, that's great. And he's like, oh, I just asked people. And then this HVAC company that I'm working for, they had 12 reviews. They were a 6-year-old company with like 5 or 6 employees. And it's like, why didn't they have reviews? Well, they didn't ask, you know.
They didn't ask.
And I had a plumber, same thing. He had maybe 10 reviews. And they were like, hey, usually I started my business out of a co-working place. And I would have people come to me and they're like, well, could you come to us so like our whole team can meet with you? And I'm like, whole team? You're a plumber with 10 reviews. So I get down there. They have like 10 trucks. They have welders. They do gas installation. They have an office across the street from the warehouse that's 3 staff working in it. And that's who they wanted me to meet with.
Wow.
And I was like, honestly, I thought you were like one guy in a truck and a lady answering the phone for you. You know, it's like, you look, and they had been around since 1995 and they have 10 reviews. And it's like, they were not asking. And they're like hundreds of clients, but just not asking anyone for reviews.
This episode is brought to you by Jira. Jira is the only project management tool you need to plan and track work across any team. So if you're a team of developers, Jira better connects you with teams like marketing and design, so you have all the information you need in one place. Plus, their AI helps you knock out the small stuff so you can focus on delivering your best work. Get started on your next big idea today in Jira.
Ready to launch a career and future you can be proud of? Welcome to Merrill, where an industry-leading advisor training program will help you get licensed. And with lead gen support from Bank of America's vast customer base, you'll get the referrals you need to establish your own practice. It's time to see your career charge forward with Merrill. Apply now at careers.bankofamerica.com. Copyright 2024 Bank of America Corporation.
Yeah, it's such low-hanging fruit. And with my clients, I don't know if you've heard of, they're kind of like tap tags. I think that's the brand name on them. But whenever I bring on a new client, I say, this is the first thing I talk about is you need to ask for these reviews. It's the number one way to do it. We have ways to automate it. We have ways to catch people who you ask and then still don't leave a review. But you have to ask every single client, as long as don't ask an angry one if there is one. And we give them these tags. I say, all you got to do is give everybody in your team, on your trucks, this tag.
Yeah.
When they're leaving, they're printing out the invoice. If they can meet with the client, ask them to, if they're willing to do a 5-star review, say, sweet, all you got to do is hold out your phone, unlock it. I'm going to put this tag right there, and it's going to pull you right up to our 5-star review area. And just tell us the number one thing you loved about working with us in 2 or 3 sentences, right? And if you include an image, it's brownie points.
Yeah. No, that's great. We've used, is it called NF or near, like NF tags?
Yeah, like NF, or it's kind of like RFID. Yeah. It's a great piece of technology. It makes it easy. And this way it's not, because I've had clients in the past where like, oh, we ask, and then people say yes, and then we never get the review. And I'm like, this is where you apply peer pressure with your tech or your whoever's on scene. Say, I'll get you, if you pull out your phone, would you mind taking a minute right now while I'm signing the paperwork here and leave this review? And that way is a little bit of peer pressure. You make it easy for them. And then before they walk out the door, you've got another 5-star review. Yeah,
we've tried the tags, we've tried stickers, but in the long run, I feel like, especially if it's multiple people, we just have people like, hey, print new business cards with this QR code on the back. Or if you have a company phone. In fact, yesterday I was meeting with a client and they said, oh, yeah, we quit getting reviews because the sticker wasn't working anymore. It got too worn and the code didn't show up. In my mind, I'm like, well, tell the owner that. Like the owner wants to know that. So we just were like, hey, let's just switch to, it's on the back of every one of your business cards. But yeah, asking and then following up gently, like, okay, hey, you said you were going to leave a review. Did you get busy? Or sometimes Google doesn't show it. Just wanted to follow up and ask. But whatever you can do to get reviews. And there's some great software out there. Nicejob.com is a good one. If a client's using Go High Level, there's ways to get reviews through that. But whatever you can do to get reviews, for sure, the most important thing.
Absolutely. And what about the importance of adding photos to your Google business profile? Where does that rank?
Yeah. So like Google doesn't hand out a document that says, hey, here's these things, but they do mention that. Like that's one of the things Google themselves says photos are important. So we know it's important because they say it's important. So I try to have my clients do at least 2 a week. And like sometimes they are not good at that. So I say, okay, like just give us 100 photos. We'll take care of this for the next year. And some clients don't. I tell clients, like, the cool thing about Google is like, you give us access to it. You don't really have to worry about it again if you don't want. Like that plumber, we had lunch in November of last year. I've never talked to him since. So it's been 10 months. His secretary, like, occasionally will reach out. And then I have other clients that call me a couple times a week of just like, hey, I heard this or saw this, or you got feedback on that. But if somebody doesn't want to really deal with me, like, we can just be off to the races. You know, I'm like, give me 30 minutes on an onboarding calls and a couple little feedback on initial images and posts. And if you don't want to talk to us, we'll still rank you.
Yeah, that's the best part about this service. And in your terms of running your business, the way you and I do things fairly similarly here, it's where this is the part of our business where we can really just take it and run with it. And Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner, you do not have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about being late to replying on reviews. We take care of that in an instant. We add the photos. All we need from you is a photo file. And if you have any updated photos, send them to us. That's literally it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so speaking of photos, there's another section on the profile where you can add a post. I call it kind of like the social media-ish side of the Google Business Profile. But really, in my mind, it doesn't make much of a difference at all, except completely a difference made on the SEO side of this. What do you think about the posts on the profile?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit where it can grab people. So word on the street is Google is only showing those in search for a week, and they're only showing the last 2. So for the first couple years, like really from like 2000 when I learned until probably about 4 months ago, we were just doing 2 a week for our clients, and we would do those about the same time every week. So at least 2 were showing in search. What we often do now is we put a keyword over the photo in so it kind of pops. And you can use 1,500 characters in that post, and we'll usually shoot for around 1,200 characters, ending with a call to action. If somebody is wanting to do that themselves, I would say do at least 2 a week. Now we do Monday through Friday. We throw a post in there just because it's another signal to Google that you're active on the profile. And even though like the word is they're not showing more than 2 in search, we found, since we use like the Google Accelerator that we do, which is basically Google tools on the backside, and the Google Posts 5 times a week, we found like just our people are popping quicker. Like the lighting guy in Newport that went from 1% of area showing up in the map pack to 18% in 3 weeks. Like I didn't used to experience that a year ago when we would do 2 posts on the front end and 3 on the Google Accelerator. So now that we're doing 5 and 5 and everything else, we hit citations week 1. We do these posts week 1. We see people pop in the first couple of weeks. Yeah, but for sure, I think the posts are really important. I don't know how much people see it. Like I have one client with 500 locations. And so we've done some tests where we put a special offer out on that. And we don't get like a ton of people that hit that offer, sign up for the email list. There's some movement, but it's not a lot. So, but I think the important thing is that it's causing it to show up in search, and it is more real estate for them as they're looking down on the map.
Right.
So,
and you're saying so that you started shifting towards posting once a day, or 5 days a week, you're posting every day?
Yeah. Every weekday we're posting. And I think the intellectual property, like I signed a document with Craig. He has darlinglocal.com if anyone wants to learn his IP. Like I learned it from him, paid him to use it. It's his stuff. So I was his first ever person he coached. And so he kind of opened the kimono and showed me what he did. And then he charged $3,000 a year for his software, and then he raised it to $10,000. And I was like, okay, I'm out. I actually know how this works. So we've created our own software that does it. And I think actually, so Craig's an awesome dude. He has a ton of clients. He gets great results for them. I think we actually move people quicker. So his process is annual. And we realized it was easier to onboard people at $1,000 a month than $10,000 a year. So somebody who's building a business, right? Like somebody who comes in and they're like, I want to build this. I want to grow. I've got a franchise and I put money into this and this and this. Like for them to drop $10,000 or $15,000 on a couple locations, not a big deal. Some business owners, it's like, I don't have $10,000 that I can throw at this. And so that's where we had to speed things up and get people faster results once we started going monthly. Because it's like, if somebody pays monthly, they want to see results monthly.
Okay, gotcha. So that's where you kind of accelerated the posting. Was there anything else you did with the profile optimization and management that helped you get results quicker outside of posting more often?
Well, we make sure that the citations are good. We do that as part of the onboarding, that initial audit, just making sure, in fact, that just reminded me that my latest client was like, oh yeah, we used to have this name. And I remember thinking, oh, I need to go back and ask him what that name was for when we do the audit. But making sure that all the NAP, name, address, phone number information is congruent across the internet. and then adding those citations. We make sure they're up on Google Maps. Well, I mean, on Apple Maps and Bing. Apple's been a pain in my butt the last month. They're now requiring documentation like Google. Bing has been pretty easy, but I just heard they're going to get more difficult as well. But all of those citations, Bing and Apple, we do that. Like, Apple has been taking longer than a week, but we do all that in the first week.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes per detail.
This is an ad for BetterHelp. Welcome to the world. Please read your personal owner's manual thoroughly. In it, you'll find simple instructions for how to interact with your fellow human beings and how to find happiness and peace of mind. Thank you, and have a nice life.
Unfortunately, life doesn't come with an owner's manual. That's why there's BetterHelp Online Therapy. Connect with a credentialed therapist by phone, video, or online chat. Visit BetterHelp.com to learn more. That's BetterHelp.com.
Feel your max with Brooks Running and the all-new Ghost Max 2. They're the shoes you deserve, designed to streamline your stride and help protect your body. Treat yourself to feel-good landings on an ultra-high stack of super comfy nitrogen-infused cushion that takes the edge off every step, every day. The Brooks Ghost Max 2. You know, technically, they're a form of self-care. Brooks, let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
So meaning you set up those separate accounts for your clients so that they're present on those applications across the internet?
Yeah. And it's not fun. Like, that alone would be worth hiring somebody to do. Like, it took us a while to even internally to find somebody that like a team member that did it. I'm like, oh, I want to gouge my eyes out. When I did it for my first clients, it's like filling out 50 forms. There is software. If an owner wants to do it themselves, the best thing I've found is Bright Local. I think you can do it for a couple $100 and they don't go away. Whereas Yext, they take away some of your citations if you're not paying them every month. So yeah, we just do it manually, but I would love it if there was a great software that it was as good as manually. I just haven't found it yet. But Bright Local is a good one. That's a good in-between if you don't want to do all these manually and you don't want to have a professional service do it for you.
And the benefit of this to your Google profile is the fact that when Google goes and crawls, they reference everything you have on your profile. They're going to go reference it against your website. Then they're going to reference it wherever else they can find you on the internet. So whether it's Yelp or Bing or, like you said, Apple, that's the point of having those filled out, correct? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It all looks the same. And so, like, a lot of people are having problems with new locations on Google right now or setting up their first location. So I tell people, like, right now, this is secret sauce. And I would say, like, just in the last 2 months are we realizing this. But the first thing I would do is have your website with your name, address, phone number on it. Then I would set up all the citations. If you need a new listing or additional listing, do all those citations with that same NAP information. Then I would have somebody who's a local guide with a high rank actually, like, request to Google that this business be set up that's here. So then Google's going to go, oh yeah, I see this all over the internet. I see this website. I see all these citations. Yes, set up this business. Then have the owner come back 2 weeks later after it's had some time to kind of sit and claim that business. And so far, we haven't had to have anyone get verified if you go that route.
So this would be for a new business. So
it's kind of a new business or an additional location of an existing business. So that's just something we've realized in the last 2 weeks, 2 months, that's let us avoid the verification process.
Okay. I like that. That's sneaky because I've had a couple clients where some of them made just a simple address change and they've had to re-verify their business. Or they changed their company name, or one of them opened a new location. It was the same thing. It was like, well, we got to verify again. And it was, for 2 of them, it was okay. For one of them, it was kind of a nightmare. Like, it took a month. He lost access. It was suspended. He had to go around with a camera and like record his entire location, lots of stuff.
Yeah. I just had a dude last night. I haven't even responded to him yet, that I helped him get a location unsuspended. And man, that was last night, but he's like 10 texts ago. And he was like, hey, can you do this for another location? I almost am like, I'm just going to do this for my own like monthly clients right now, you know, because it's not like it's a ton of work, but if you don't do things the way that Google wants, you just screw things up. So people think, oh, what I should do first is change Google. That's the totally wrong way. You should change Google last. You change hours, name, address, phone number, any of that. Google is the last place you make that change, even though people see it. So you think, oh, I should change it here first. That's when you get suspended, flagged, re-verified, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. I just signed a new client last month and his profile was suspended. So I had to work with him. I worked with Google on getting that reinstated. And it was an address problem. The NAP wasn't aligned with his website. He had a new location for his business and it got all out of whack. Google suspended it and we had to go through the process. Luckily, it was fairly painless. We just had to submit certain documentation on his business to Google and it came back. But I've heard a couple horror stories. So I love that. That's some solid advice on doing it the right way to where you're not going to trip Google essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's talk about your business side of this a little bit. So you mentioned a couple of your pricing matrices a tiny bit here at the beginning, but what does it look like when you're going out and selling this thing? What do you charge? It sounds like you switched to monthly for the most part as opposed to annually. What does that look like for you?
Yeah. So in general, like for an average client, it's 10 grand a year or 1,000 a month. And if they have additional locations, like the additional locations are usually 50% off of that for every additional location. So if they have 3 locations, then it's 2,000 a month or whatever. And there's different things, you know, so like right now, also last night, I got a message from somebody that has 5 locations that they want me to manage. So a couple different things go into my mind. It's like, so with the guy with 5 locations, he owns 3, somebody else owns the other 2. Am I dealing with 3 people or am I dealing with 1 person? Because if I'm dealing with 1 person, and I can do the same post on the Google Business Profile, then I'm probably going to give him a discount for multiple locations. If I'm dealing with 3 people, I'm not going to give him really that much of a discount on if I can use the same posts and the same photos, okay, maybe a little bit of a discount. But dealing with 3 business owners, it's like, well, I'm not going to give you that much of a discount because if I have 3 people that are always calling me, that's way different than 1 person calling. So the less people that I'm interacting with, the more I give a discount. And also there's some niches that are harder, right? So like I have personal injury lawyers. If they're in a small niche, one guy, he went from red to green and owning the city in a month. It was a smaller city. Nobody was doing, it was like my solar guy years ago. I am amazed that lawyers are not on Google Business Profile. So I got another lawyer and we're seeing progress, but personal injury in a bigger town and it's like slower, you know, we're moving up, but he didn't own it in a month because there's probably 100 personal injury lawyers in this town. So he probably will own it. I told him my goal for him is 7 months in that he's not spending $3,500 a month in ad spend, that it's just all coming free from Google. But it's so powerful for people. Like this HVAC client that I met with them yesterday. It had been a year and they're like, I just said, you should be getting way more phone calls. So they don't own the map. Nobody owns the map for our city. Like the biggest share of local volume search is probably like 40%. So I always start there and I go, what is the biggest share of local volume search that any company has? Because in some niches like HVAC or roofing, Google isn't always going to give the whole city to a company. Now, in other niches, you might get a whole state. Like if you're doing blower door testing, which is this new thing that now people are needing, but not a lot of people have ranked for it yet, you can actually own a state for that term. Whereas personal injury attorney, you're going to own a city, a mid-sized city is a good thing. You're probably never going to own Atlanta for personal injury attorney. Like you're going to own a section of Atlanta for that. But like I had a painter that I just brought on from Charleston, and he owns, like, I would say probably 10 to 15% of the area. He's ranking pretty well, but it's like the lower populated. Like he's not into Charleston. He's not into the wealthier suburbs where he wants to be. But when we're talking, he's a new business owner. He's got 6 guys. He's got expenses. He's got a insane rent. And we're talking and he's like, oh man, $1,000 is a lot of money. And in my mind, I'm just like, I know. I'm like, if he makes this decision a year from now, his business is going to be in a different place. And I'm like, I don't care, honestly. Like, I told my wife, I'm like, I might start limiting my clients, like how many I'll take on a week. And my wife's like, no, I'll start working for you. Like, keep bringing on clients. So she did. I hired my wife yesterday.
Nice.
But like, I'm sitting there with this guy and I'm in my mind, I'm like, I don't care, but dude, you hire me, your business is going to be in a different place in a year. Like, you're going to be able to drop your ad spend. You're going to get more calls. So I had a perfect example. I had a painter a year ago and he said, I just need work. Like, I just have to get jobs. I got to keep my guys busy. And so I was like, okay, he'd already hired me for another business. So he knew it worked. And then partway through the year, he's like, well, I'm getting a lot of calls. What do I do? And I said, well, you raise your prices. Like, you don't tell people you won't work. Just if it's further away, just bid double what you would normally bid for a job, or change the way that you're operating your business. I saw him at a meeting about a month ago and I said, hey, how's it going with the calls? And he was kind of proud and he said, I only get 1/3 of my bids accepted now. And I was like, sweet. You know, I gave him the knocks. It's like, whereas a year ago, he's like, I'm basically bidding so that I can get every job so that I have my guys busy. And now it's like, oh, let me get the jobs that I want to take, or bid a lot more on the jobs that I don't want. So if they do say yes, I'm happy to get it because I'm like, my profit margin on this job is sick, you know?
That's awesome.
So yeah, I just think it's huge. Sorry, I went on, got on my soapbox there, but I'm like, It's not for every business. Like, I have some guys that do home inspections and people just aren't looking for that a lot online, and they're out of the city. So even though they're ranking number 1, it's like, is it worth it for them? Yeah. I mean, probably. My guarantee is 200% ROI. So it's like, I think they got at least that. But for anyone that's like regularly searching for something, so I found out like most people get their home inspectors from their real estate agent. So it's like a referral. But if it's anything people are searching for, it probably behooves you to be on Google.
Okay, so probably, and I was going to ask this question, the best niches or industries to go after are, you have a lot of choices. I mean, first thing that comes to mind is home service categories. Like, people are always searching for that stuff. If you own any form of home service business, you need to be optimizing your profile. If you are a restaurant, a bar, a brewery, a local hangout, same process or same thing, right? Google Business Profile, you have got to be on there and you've got to be optimized and doing well with it. Are there any, I guess maybe it's easier to list the industries. You said home inspectors, maybe not as important. Are there any other industries that you've experienced that, while it's still maybe important to have a profile, it might not be the number one thing?
Yeah. So for a while, I didn't take real estate agents, and because there were just so many of them, I'm like, are they actually going to rank? And then I was like, you know what? I'm pretty confident in our Google accelerators. So I took on a real estate agent 4 months ago now. And like 3 months in, another real estate agent said, hey, is that guy getting an ROI? And I said, honestly, I have no idea, but I have a meeting with him tomorrow. I'll ask. And he went from all red on the maps that we give him to ranking in the map pack, I would say in about, I don't remember off the top of my head, but let's say he was in the top 3 out of the 49 squares that we have. Maybe he's in the top 3 out of 10, 4 months in. And I said, hey, has this been worth it for you? And he said, well, I got a $2 million listing from it, and I think I know the buyer for this property. I'm going to approach him. So I need to ask him, did he actually get the buyer? But so at the very least, that's a $60,000 client that he got from Google. And maybe he gets $120,000 from that. And it's like 3 months in, one client just paid for this for the next 10 years. And that's usually what business owners say is like, this paid for itself in the first couple months for the whole year. Google has over 4,000 categories that they put in there. Like, One of them that I see all the time is like Abundant Life Church, because when you start at the top A, and I'm like, there's a whole section of churches called Abundant Life Churches. Like, I've never even heard of these things. Somehow they got a Google category. I don't know if that's a brand or what, but there's 4,000 categories. And I would guess as like an agency, there's probably 500 of those that it would make sense to rank for. Wedding venues, wedding photographies, restaurants, there's all kinds of things. Like if people are searching for it, you know, secondhand stores, it just makes sense to be on Google. At the very least, every business owner should claim their listing and do whatever they think of. That'll be helpful. Anyone that can afford it, like if you're spending money on any advertising at all, I think Google Business is the cheapest, most effective form of advertising in the world today. So if you're spending money on it, call up Brien, hire him to do your stuff. Like it just makes sense to hire somebody to do this because the ROI is huge. It just works. I've never had one person say, I didn't get an ROI on this.
Right.
Like, I want you to work the second year for free, which is my guarantee. It's like, if you don't get 200% in profit, and I totally trust the client. You know, I have a lawyer that I work for, and he's like, get rid of that guarantee. Somebody's going to screw you over with it. And I'm like, well, if that is the case, I don't really want them long-term. I'll work for them for the second year or whatever they say for free. But most of my clients are like, it's the opposite, right? It's like, you know, like I heard yesterday morning, yeah, the phone is ringing so much more this year. And this client, this HVAC client from yesterday, we compared their map to like the biggest guy in town with 20 trucks. And they have 2 or 3 trucks versus 20. They spend way less on marketing. They only do 2 things for marketing, Google and postcards. And according to the maps, they're like equal companies. And I wrote that guy first. Like I went after the biggest guy in town first. And I was like, hey, the 2 biggest people, I wrote them and said, hey, let me show you what I can do. Crickets from them. And now good for this guy. He's now building a legacy. He was able to hire his dad and him were together. He hired his sister. Now he hired his sister's husband, plus other staff. And it's like, it's off to the races for them.
Yeah.
So
it's incredible. And the maps we talk about, they're called heat maps. They're, for those who aren't familiar, it's basically your little service area and there's dots all around in a square, and they give a ranking from 1 to like 20 plus. And basically it's showing you if people searching in this area, this is where you're ranking for these types of keywords. So that's one of my favorite tools to use to show people, hey, I was just at a meeting with a client the other day and I sat down and said, hey, check out these heat maps, your top 5 keywords. You are number 1 in your entire area here. Like, and he was like, that, I love that. And I'm like, yes, you do, because it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a client, I found the number 1 way to get new clients is when you show them that they're like 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. And just the competitive juices, it's like, oh no. And the reality is, yes, you're not winning and you're leaving a ton of money on the table.
Right.
So
right.
Hopefully by the time this podcast goes live at mapwinners.com, I'll have a page at mapwinners.com/rank where people can just put in their business and their keyword and see how they're ranking. So we're working on that right now. So
that'd be an awesome resource. Well, I know you need to hop off. You've got a lot of work. You got to get to some clients to go close. I want to reiterate to our listeners, like, this is free. Like, this is a free service from Google. And you mentioned it a minute ago, Buddy, like, this is the least expensive way to have the most outsized results for your business. It absolutely behooves people to have somebody manage it, like you, Buddy. You know, the clients you take on, you take them to the next level. So I want to make sure we reiterate that. But also, Buddy, how can our listeners get a hold of you if they want to check you out, have a chat, or take you up on your offer to help people with their Google business profile?
Yeah. So number 1 place is just mapwinners.com. They can book an appointment with me. I do a 30-minute call for free just to see if it makes sense for their business. We do a quick audit, quick heat map just in person to check that out. I'm on Twitter at Buddy7, and I'm the only Buddy Rathmell in the world. So if you want Facebook, LinkedIn, my home address, any of those things, just Google Buddy Rathmell, you'll find me.
I love it. The only one in the world. You heard it here first, folks. He's the best and the only. All right. Well, Buddy, thank you so much for joining us, man. You brought a lot of knowledge to the table here, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers have a lot of things they can go eat up and take their business to the next level.
Yeah. Thanks, Brien. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. All right. Big thanks to Buddy for joining us today. And guys, we can't reiterate it enough. The Google Business Profile is one of the most important aspects of your marketing machine. If you understand it, you know it, and you use it consistently and you optimize it correctly. Now, we understand there's a lot of businesses that don't have the time, desire, or knowledge to do that. And that's why guys like Buddy or myself exist to help with this type of service, because it can have such an incredible effect on your sales and on the growth of your business. Just going back to some of those examples that Buddy gave, helping a company go from $350K to $950K to $1.7 million, all through the business profile. It's just one of those things where it's absolutely free to do, and you can do it on your own. You absolutely can. It's a totally free service if you do it well and you do it consistently. So we wanted to drive that point home today. And for those of you possibly looking to start a business in digital marketing, hey, here's a great avenue to start a new business. Go learn how to manage Google Business Profiles, do it effectively, and start bringing on clients. It's a very lucrative business. So I hope you guys found that whole bucket full of knowledge from Buddy here today. This was as you could tell, I told you at the beginning, I was going to nerd out, and I had a ton of fun. So I'm going to be signing off here. But first, I want to ask you, if you enjoyed this episode, please hit the link button, the link to share button in your pod player. Shoot a text message to your friends, family, colleagues, coworkers, whoever it might be that you would think would enjoy this episode. We want you to share it with them as well. And number two, I am very excited to announce that the Build My Money Machine course, it is ready. It is our first foundational course from Millionaire University. It is launching on October 1st, and founding members can get in with a 90% discount. This is going to be the course that walks you through multiple modules on how to get yourself into that millionaire mindset, how to get started down the road on the right path in your entrepreneurship journey. This is designed for aspiring entrepreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs, or if you're an entrepreneur in business, but you're stuck, you find yourself keep hitting a ceiling. This course is for you. We're going to have online modules plus online coaching. Guys, this is going to be awesome. So check it out at buildmymoneymachine.com and hop on in with your 90% off founders discount. All right, guys, that's it for me. Brien Gearin signing off. I cannot wait to see you on the next episode of the Millionaire University podcast. Go on out there and crush it today, guys.
Who wants a money machine? On October 1st, 2024, we will be launching the first ever Millionaire University program, teaching you how to build your own 7-figure business.
We don't think of a business as a business per se. We think of it more like a money machine, where every dollar you put in, you get $2, $3, $4 back.
Most successful business owners can identify thousands of business opportunities and execute on any one of them to create a 7-figure business within 3 to 5 years, time and time again.
Truth is, they don't have anything you don't. Trust us, we know. So if they can do it, why not you?
The purpose of the Build My Money Machine program is to empower you to be able to do the same thing. So take advantage of the Millionaire University Founders Special and go to buildmymoneymachine.com now to sign up and get 90% off the regular price. Once again, that's buildmymoneymachine.com. And we'll see you October 1st.